And at number 10, Taylor Swift. We all know that Joe Jonas is not an awful person, but he did do an awful thing to Taylor Swift. If you don't know, the pair dated for a few months back in 2008, and it ended very harshly. Then Taylor went on the Ellen show shortly after, and when asked about the split, she said, quote, "When I find that person that's right for me, he'll be wonderful. When I look at that person, I'm not even going to remember the boy who broke up with me over the phone in 27 seconds when I was 18. And everyone knew exactly who she was talking about and labeled Joe Jonas the worst guy ever. I mean, he broke up with her on a 27-second phone call. However, Taylor recently admitted that she regrets what she said on the show, and she took things too far. When asked if Taylor had any regrets, she replied that she regretted putting Joe on blast, joking that she was 18 at the time and it was very teenage behavior. And at number 9, Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart exposed the worst date she's ever been on, and apparently the man quickly left the date and did not pay, leaving her to pay the whole bill. Hope he wasn't looking for a second date. On her show Martha and Snoop's potluck dinner party, she revealed, quote, "I went to the lounge area at Lee Bernardin with this guy. He had to go somewhere afterward and I had to go somewhere after as well. We each had places to go. He didn't ask me to go with him to the second place. We had cocktails and a little caviar or something. Then he just got up and said he had to run, and he ran right out and didn't pay, and I thought that was extremely rude." Part of me hopes that Martha called him out for what he did on text or something after, because if someone did that to me, they would absolutely be hearing from me later. And at number 8, Kelly Clarkson. While Kelly Clarkson was on the Ellen show, she spilled the tea on her worst dating story. Apparently she went out with a guy that was not much taller than her, and that was all he would talk about the whole night. Even though Kelly didn't really have a problem with it. She said, quote, "He was 5'2" and I'm 5'3". Obviously I went out with you, so it didn't bother me." But he proceeded to talk about his height for like a solid hour. Apparently there was a point she knew she would never go out with this guy again, so she left, adding, quote, "And I withstood an hour and then I went to the bathroom and I left. I couldn't take it." And at number 7, Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling shared a really unfortunate dating story that I'm sure we're all familiar with, getting friend-zoned. And even though the guy did nothing wrong, it still hurt. Kaling actually revealed the story in a Reddit AMA. She wrote, quote, "The worst date I've ever been on was with a guy who I was super excited about, really attracted to, and then on the date it became apparent that it wasn't a date. He was just a straight dude who was psyched to have dinner with me in a platonic way. He talked about an actress he really wanted to date and we split the check." Ugh, that's what makes it so much worse, the guy talking about someone else that he was really hoping to date. So sorry for Mindy. And at number 6, Emma Watson. Now this guy is actually awful because he took precious time during a date with Emma Watson to trash talk other people, which just shows what kind of slimeball he must be. Emma was speaking about her worst date stories with The Telegraph and shared, quote, "The worst date I've ever been on was with the guy who told me he couldn't be friends with fat people or anyone who was unattractive. I realized pretty quickly that he was a nutter and I had to get out as quickly as I could." Yeah, that has to be one of the biggest red flags in a person that I have ever seen. Thankfully, Emma did not waste any more of her precious time with him. Now I'm just wondering how he even managed to get a date with her in the first place. Hopefully she doesn't go that route again. At number 5, Tiffany Haddish. Before getting into a relationship with Common, Tiffany Haddish had to endure a lot of bad dates. Apparently she had even planned to go on a date with Drake, but he needed to leave town last minute, so he canceled and they never went out. And then she went out with another guy and it became the story of her worst date ever. This is probably one of the laziest and slimiest things I've ever heard, but apparently Tiffany Haddish went on a date with a guy and it ended with her doing laundry. The guy said they'd be going to dinner, you know, a classic date night. But it turned out a lot different. She told TMZ about the bad date, saying, quote, "I went on a date with a guy to wash his clothes. He said we were going to dinner and we got dinner and then we went to the laundry house and washed his clothes. That's horrible. I'm not a damn maid." I'm not sure what in the world made this guy think he would get a second date after that. In at number 4, Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish had her bad date story when she was only 13, and apparently the guy flat out told her the kissing was not good. Her and the guy went to the movies and she was very excited because she had a big crush on him, but after they finally kissed, things went way downhill. Billie told Howard Stern about the bad date, quote, "He kissed me and then he said, that was not as magical as I thought it would be. He was super rich and his butler, literally his butler, took him home. He left and I was stuck there and no one told me they were going to leave. Dude is hella ugly now." So clearly Billie got the last laugh in the whole situation. I mean, look at her now. And at number 3, Jenny Slate. Jenny Slate easily had one of the most awkward first dates ever because the guy showed up in an insane outfit. While on the Talk Easy with Sam Fragoso podcast, Jenny told her worst date story. Apparently it all started with a blind date, which is really making me lose hope in blind dates altogether. She said, quote, "He comes around the corner inside the restaurant and this dude is dressed in full chainmail. He's got a full authentic knight's costume on, including a floor-length tabard, which I called a tunic, and then he corrected me and was like, it's actually a tabard. His chainmail was like getting caught on stuff. I'm mortified, and I'm also just mad. He's trying my pasta and the chainmail clinking across and stuff. It's insane. At that point, I would have been asking myself if I was getting punked, because there's no way a serious human shows up to a date like that. Honestly, maybe it was all a joke and she didn't find out until later. Who knows? And at number 2 is Zoe Kravitz. This dating situation turned from bad to pretty good, depending on how you look at it. Apparently once Zoe Kravitz went on a date and ended up owning his tortoise afterwards. Let me explain. They went on the first date, it was great, and he was talking about how he just got a turtle. The next day he was going out of town and needed someone to watch the turtle, and since nobody else was available to watch it, Zoe's roommate convinced her to watch this turtle. Apparently he dropped off the turtle in a bag at her door, and when she looked inside it, it was not a small turtle like she thought, rather a massive 30-pound tortoise. After the guy had been gone for a week, she asked him when he was coming back, and apparently his trip had been extended and he was going to be gone for a whole month. By the time he got back into town, it had been a month, and they went on a date to catch up. When she went back to his place, she realized it wasn't a good place for a huge tortoise, so she decided to keep the tortoise. Months later, she donated it to a turtle sanctuary. And finally, number 1, Tori Spelling. Tori revealed on her blog a date so bad that she spent the end of it throwing up in the kitchen of a restaurant. Back when she was a huge star working on Beverly Hills 90210, she went on a horrible first date she will never forget. She said an up-and-coming actor took her on a date to one of the hottest restaurants in town, and instead of getting dinner, he only ordered them drinks all night. Not sure if he was trying to get her wasted or was too cheap to just pay for the food. Spelling wrote, quote, "I then selfishly prayed for breadsticks that would never come. He ordered us both rum and cokes. Oh no, I was a wine girl. I didn't usually drink hard alcohol, but I had to act cool, so I went with it. At one point she got up to go to the bathroom, but she stumbled into the kitchen instead, where she then threw up into a saucepan." She added, quote, "A waiter rushed over with a massive copper saucepan where I proceeded to vomit the 4 rum and cokes and the Cliff Bar I had at 11 a.m. into it. It was Donna Martin prom night all over again. I was mortified." That really seems mortifying, unfortunately.
Starting off this countdown, we have Gigi Hadid and Zayn Malik. The history between these two is wild. They've been dating on and off for years. They started dating late 2015. They called it quits in March of 2018. 2 months later, they were spotted together again. In January of 2019, they announced that they broke up again. Zayn said that he had a lot of issues that Gigi just couldn't help him get through. A year later, it was announced that they were back together, and then they gave birth to their first child, Kai. A little while later, there was an incident between Zayn and Gigi's mom, Yolanda. She claims that he grabbed and shoved her into a dresser during a fight. She also claims that he yelled a number of profanities at her. She also said that Malik reportedly would yell at Gigi a number of times over the phone when he wasn't in the US. One thing he said on the phone to her was, I quote, "Strap on some effing balls and defend your partner against your effing mother in my house." Obviously, due to all this and more, Yolanda does not want Zayn in Gigi's life, let alone near Kai. So this whole thing is the definition of messy. In our 9th spot, we have Grimes and Elon Musk. After being together for 3 years, the pair called it quits in September of 2021. Apparently, this happened due to the fact that he was always traveling for his work at SpaceX and Tesla, whereas Grimes mainly works in LA. But apparently, for quite some time after their separation, Grimes and their baby were still living with Elon Musk. The two maintained that they were semi-separated but remained on good terms, which I don't think was always the case. Later, Grimes revealed that the two had gotten into an argument over their baby's name and fought days before she went into labor. Then in July, Musk tweeted out saying that pronouns suck, and Grimes did not like this at all. She replied, and I quote, "I love you, but please turn off your phone and give me a dial." She continued on saying, "I cannot support hate. Please stop this. I know this isn't your heart." She quickly deleted this reply, and Musk unfollowed her the next day. Moving on to number 8, we have Addison Rae and Bryce Hall. TikTok stars Addison Rae and Bryce Hall called it quits in March 2021. The pair began their romance in November of 2020. It wasn't long for the two to call it quits after Bryce Hall was suspected of cheating on Addison, although Bryce denied any of the claims. But this eventually led to the pair unfollowing each other on Instagram. Despite Bryce claiming that all the cheating allegations were false, he said that it drastically impacted their relationship. He said, and I quote, "I'll be honest, I broke up with her because I was completely stressed out with it all. I paid so much in lawyer fees to get all this bullshit off my plate." And even though Addison found a way to trust him again, it still put a lot of strain on their relationship. In our 7th spot, we have Tana Mongeau and Mod Sun. Seems like Tana Mongeau broke girl code after going after her ex-girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, Mod Sun. It's confusing, I know. She dated Bella Thorne, who dated Mod Sun previously, and apparently they were in like a polyamorous relationship. I don't really know. It's confusing. In 2019, Bella took to Twitter accusing Tana of breaking girl code. She never revealed what she did, but it seems like she was upset about Tana and Mod Sun dating. They kind of had a thing for a while, but stayed apart to avoid drama. Then Tana went on tour with Mod Sun just before the pandemic started. Shortly after, the two went to LA and quarantined together. Anyways, in August of 2021, in a podcast, Tana revealed why the pair broke up. And it wasn't because of the Bella drama. It was because of Tana's OnlyFans. In the podcast, she said, and I quote, "The literal, actual reason we broke up, we were doing perfectly fine as a couple, literally perfectly fine. And then I wanted to start an OnlyFans, and he wasn't. He was not down for it. That was sincerely the reason. I am not shaming him for this because I think obviously, like, let's say I were to talk to him about it in an hour, let's say we sit down, I think he would have seen what it is and what it's become, and become more accepting. But he was very much kind of, you're gonna become a star. And I was like, you've dated literal stars. So, yikes. That's all I gotta say to that one. Yikes. In our 6th spot today, we have Aaron Carter and Melanie Martin. This is another very rocky relationship. The pair started dating in January of 2020, and it's been messy ever since. A week after welcoming their first child together, Aaron announced that they had split. In a tweet, he said, "Due to personal reasons, Melanie Martin and I have decided to go our separate ways." He continued on saying, and I quote, "There has been a very big lie, and my sister communicating with my ex-fiance ruined everything, considering she knew what Angel tried to do to me in court. Thanks, Angel, you ruined my family." So apparently Melanie was in talks with his estranged twin sister, Angel Carter, and he was not too happy about that. In another tweet, he said, and I quote, "I've never felt more devastated and betrayed and lied to in my entire life. This is such a horrible situation considering Prince doesn't deserve any of this, and now it's my job to just be a single father, and that's what's gonna happen." Not only that, but Carter posted on Instagram saying that he was trapped inside of his bedroom because Melanie wouldn't let him leave his house. In fact, because of everything that was going down, Child Protective Services actually showed up at their house. And of course, Carter had to go live on Instagram when they did. But then apparently a week later, the pair were back together, so I honestly don't know anymore. Are they still together? Are they broken up again? I don't know. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. Since 2016, Khloe and Tristan have been dating on and off. On June 21st of 2021, the pair called it off again. Now, many people would agree that their relationship isn't the best, and that's because Tristan has cheated on Khloe a number of times. Khloe even said that she has felt betrayed by him, but still continues to go back to him. And just this year, it was revealed that Tristan is the father to a 3rd child. He was dating Khloe at the time that his son was conceived. Like, come on, Khloe, you deserve so much better. In our 4th spot, we have John Mulaney and Anna Marie Tendler. After 6 years of marriage together, the couple announced on May 10th that they have split up. John's spokesperson said, and I quote, "John will not have any further comment as he continues to focus on his recovery and getting back to work." Meanwhile, Anna said, and I quote, "I am heartbroken that John has decided to end our marriage. I wish him support and success as he continues his recovery." So it was John who decided to file for divorce. Later, it was revealed that the pair was going through a rough patch, while also experiencing irreconcilable differences in their marriage. Just months later, John got together with Olivia Munn. Fans were shocked at how fast he moved on. And only months into their new relationship, they announced that they were expecting their first child, which was shocking. Not only due to the fact how fast it all happened, but also because Mulaney has also made it clear that he didn't want kids. Moving on to number 3, we have Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez. J-Lo and A-Rod first met in 1999 when Alex was still playing baseball. Then again at a Yankees game in 2005, but at the time they were both married to other people. Eventually though, things fell into place and the pair began dating in 2017. 2 years later, in 2019, they got engaged. But in March of 2021, the pair split. According to J-Lo's friend that talked about their split, she said, and I quote, "J-Lo insisted on it. There are too many issues that are unresolved. She has been pretty miserable and didn't think it was in her best interest to stay with Alex." Then, only months later, rumors swirled about J-Lo and Ben Affleck getting back together. And now it's official. They are. Hashtag Bennifer for life. In our second spot, we have Shia LaBeouf and Margaret Qualley. This pair started dating after starring in a music video together, Love Me Like You Hate Me. However, in January of 2021, the pair split after Shia got into legal troubles with his ex-girlfriend FKA Twigs. They split just weeks after his ex filed a lawsuit against him. She accused him of sexual and emotional distress. Shia denied all the allegations, but Margaret did not want to be with a man accused of such. And in our number one spot today, we have Kim and Kanye. Of course, they had to make it to number one on today's list because everything going on between them is wild. On January 5th, 2021, news broke that Kim and Kanye were ending their marriage, and on February 19th, 2021, Kim officially filed for divorce. The two have 4 children together, and that right now is causing a lot of drama. Apparently, Kim was keeping the kids away from Kanye. Kim wants full custody, but obviously Kanye wants joint custody. Kim says that Kanye is unstable, Kanye says that Kim's unstable. It's just really messy. And now it's even worse when you throw Pete Davidson into the mix. That's just adding more fuel to the fire. On June 10th, 2021, during the Keeping Up with the Kardashians season finale, Kim said, and I quote, "After turning 40 this year, I realized, no, I don't want a husband that lives in a completely different state. To me, I thought, oh my God, that's when we're getting along the best. But then, that is sad to me, and that's not what I want." Yikes, that's a hard thing to admit. And I feel like their situation is going to just keep getting messier before it gets better.
At number 10, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. Before Angelina took over Hollywood, Bennifer was a thing. Actually, I don't know if they had a ship name, but if not, I just made one. You're welcome. Jennifer and Brad's romance story started in the 90s, meeting for the first time in 94, but going on their first date in 98. After 2 years of dating, the wedding of the year took place in 2000 on a bluff in Malibu because nothing says romance and everlasting love like standing on a cliff. Things were okay until Angelina came into the picture after she and Brad met while working on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Fast forward to 2005 and Bennifer was no more. They filed for divorce, making room for Brangelina. It was a whirlwind breakup because of the cheating scandals, as Angie became the other woman of sorts, and even as things died down over the years, tabloids would bring this drama up from time to time, almost making it seem as though things aren't exactly over for this unfortunate love triangle. It seems as though Brad and Jen have reunited in 2020 as they are both now single, but I don't know if you can really call it a comeback from that heavily publicized breakup. At number 9, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. 2013 was a rough time for Twilight fans. Not only were they still heartbroken and mourning the death of their beloved vampiric saga, but they were also mourning the death of their OTPs, Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. Since the beginning of the Twilight franchise, fans were obsessed with Kristen and Rob's relationship, wishing that they would take their on-screen love into the real world. For years, the actors had shut down rumors that they were dating until 2011 when they finally confirmed that they were together. Fans were ecstatic and soon came speculations that a proposal was soon to come, but unfortunately that moment never came. In 2013, while working on the film Snow White and the Huntsman, Kristen was caught cheating on Rob with the film's director, Rupert Sanders. Paparazzi had speculated that something was going on between them for a while, and so they finally got confirmations of this affair when the two were caught getting cozy together. When news of this scandal broke, it got crazy, and soon we saw statements from Rupert's wife, as well as news that Robert and Kristen had broken up officially. This ended with Kristen being labeled a homewrecker, and a lot of people still hate her for it. Rob's heartbreak was heavily publicized, and most people took his side, but really, I think their whole relationship was just a publicity stunt, and they needed a wild way to end it. But what do you guys think? At number 8, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. By now, everyone and their mothers know about Johnny and Amber. Their relationship was highly publicized last year following their trial, but their initial breakup was also a messy ordeal, even though it happened nearly 5 years ago. Johnny and Amber first filed for divorce in 2016, but was finally finalized in 2017. Their divorce proceedings were quite the scandal, as Amber made the accusation that Johnny had been towards her, though now we all know that that was a big ol' ball of BS. In their divorce settlement, Amber was awarded $7 million to be paid by Johnny, and Amber claimed that she would be donating the money to 2 charities, which also turned out to be a lie. And they went their separate ways as Johnny kept their properties and cars. The biggest story to come out of this breakup was the bombshell of Johnny's treatment of his wife. Johnny lost a lot of work because of her claims, and his name was pretty much ruined because of it. Fast forward to 2020, and the drama continues, making this one of the messiest breakups ever. At number 7, Taylor Swift and Calvin Harris. Now obviously we couldn't make a list talking about the messiest breakups without including Taylor Swift. I mean, she's built her entire career on breakup songs, and you obviously can't have the breakup song without the breakup. Arguably, one of Taylor's messiest breakups was with DJ Calvin Harris, and though it didn't end up with a lot of upfront hostility, there was a lot of shade, a lot of jealousy, and a lot of drama. After a brief relationship, Taylor and Calvin broke up in 2016, and when news broke of their split, it was speculated that they broke up because their spark had fizzled out and that things just weren't working out for them. No hostility and no drama, they just fell out of love. Things were fine until Taylor went public with her new relationship with Marvel actor Tom Hiddleston a little over 2 weeks after breaking up with Calvin. This started to stir drama because some fans as well as some news sources believed that Taylor was only dating Tom to make Calvin jealous. Tom and Taylor was seen traveling together and meeting Taylor's parents. Meanwhile, Calvin was being bombarded by paparazzi asking about his take on this new relationship. Things escalated into the music world as reports came out involving Rihanna into Taylor and Calvin's relationship troubles, and Calvin even alleged that Taylor was still texting him weeks after they were over. This breakup was unnecessarily messy, but it made for some good music content for Taylor. At number 6, Zayn Malik and Perry Edwards. Another complicated relationship here, this time with former One Direction member Zayn Malik and Little Mix member Perry Edwards. After meeting in 2011, dating in 2012, and getting engaged in 2013, Zayn and Perry's perfect world came crumbling down in 2015 after a dramatic and messy public breakup. When news broke of their split, fans just had to know why. These two were loved by so many fans, and for them to suddenly call it quits, people wanted to know what was going on. It was alleged that Zayn broke up with Perry over text, but I don't know if that was really true or not. About a week after initial reports of their split, fans learned that the couple's home was put on the market, and that apparently Zayn had asked Perry to move out of their house shortly after their breakup. Perry was having a hard time with the sudden split, even breaking down in tears on stage at one of her girl group's concerts. Meanwhile, news outlets were reporting on Zayn's parties at his Bel Air mansion. The media as well as fans were divided in choosing sides. Perry was being shown as the blindsided and broken one, while Zayn was being seen as aloof and cold. Not too long after the breakup, Zayn was seen hanging around model Gigi Hadid, and it was thought that Zayn had left Perry for Gigi. Eventually, things sort of died down between Perry and Zayn, with the two subtly shading each other every once in a while. At number 5, Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth. Miley and Liam's relationship was certainly complicated. They were on and off for 10 years before ending things in 2019, and even then, their divorce was messy. Miley and Liam got married in December 2018, but after 8 months of marriage, they confirmed their split and filed for divorce. What made things messy was Miley's unexpected and sudden relationship with Caitlyn Carter. Miley and Caitlyn took a trip together after their respective relationships had ended and entered into a new romantic relationship with each other. A lot of people speculated that Miley had cheated on Liam with Caitlyn and that it was the reason why she left him, but Miley denied those allegations. Liam and Caitlyn's ex Brody Jenner were seen shading their exes for moving on like this, but eventually things cooled off. Miley and Liam's divorce was finalized in January 2020, and apparently it was a very hard time for Miley, as she referred to the divorce as death because it was so big and so public. At number 4, Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber. This is another one of those relationships that are just hard to map out because they're so all over the place and complicated. Much like Miley and Liam, Selena and Justin were on and off throughout the years, and so their breakup was just as messy because it spanned over a long time. It's almost as though they broke up in stages before finally calling it quits for good. Really, there's no official ending to their relationship because things were always up in the air. They would break up, and then the possibility of them getting back together was always there. Even when the two of them got into new relationships, things would always somehow come back to the two of them. Justin allegedly got into a fight with one of Selena's boyfriends because he still had feelings for her, and Selena would always be asked about Justin even if they weren't together. The time they spent in the news between relationships pretty much serves as their big messy breakup because, like I said before, it spanned for such a long time, it's like it was broken into phases like the MCU. I guess things officially ended for Angelina when Justin married Hailey Baldwin, and let's hope it stays that way because no one needs that toxic energy again. At number 3, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt doesn't seem to have much luck with his relationships because he has another messy breakup, but this time with Angelina Jolie. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Brad and Angelina met while Brad was still married to Jennifer Aniston, and Angie sort of replaced Jen. Though there was initially some bad blood, things died down and Brangelina was born. Brad and Angie spent 10 years together, adopting a bunch of children and living a seemingly picture-perfect Hollywood life. The two got married in 2014, but just 2 years into their marriage, they got divorced. This breakup was intense and messy, and entertainment news sources were all over this story. Soon, cheating rumors started circulating, and later the matter of the children's custody fanned the flame. During their divorce proceedings, Brad's parenting came into question as allegations were made against him that questioned their kid's situation in Brad's care. Apparently, news came out about Angie's reason for ending their decade-long relationship with Brad, citing that he had gotten into a fight with their oldest child, Maddox, which prompted Angie to reevaluate their relationship. It was tumultuous and messy, but it seems as though they're both living their lives safely and separately at this time. At number 2, Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande. Ariana and Pete's relationship took people by surprise. It was short and intense, and the breakup was messy too. The two started dating in May of 2018, and by late June, they were engaged. They fell for each other so quickly, moving in together and planning their lives together as well. But things ended as quickly as they began, and by October, they were done. After getting tattoos dedicated to each other, they were quickly covered up, and soon the shade began. Shortly after the news of their breakup was broadcast, Pete poked fun at his failed relationship in a comedy set, and Ariana then moved on to subtweeting her ex for shading her. And she even included a reference to their relationship in her song Thank You Next. There was some back and forth shading and dissing each other in more jokes and music, but that all seems to be over now. Ariana is now engaged to someone else, and everyone seems to be moving on now. And finally, at number 1, Khloe and Tristan's relationship absolutely exploded in the media because of cheating and backstabbing and just so much drama. Basically, this whole ordeal revolved around Khloe, Tristan, and Kylie Jenner's BFF, Jordyn Woods. Tristan cheated on Khloe multiple times during her pregnancy, including a few times with Jordyn Woods, who had been a family friend for years. When news of Tristan's infidelity broke, the internet went nuts, and so did the Kar Jenner family. Khloe and Tristan ended up breaking up, and the family also broke up with Jordyn after she backstabbed the family. Kylie weighed in on this scandal, saying how heartbroken she was to find out that her best friend betrayed her like that. The breakup was also talked about on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where Khloe's sisters, Kim and Kourtney, came to her side and seriously wanted to fight Tristan. Their relationship has been rocky ever since, as Khloe only keeps him in her life for her daughter's sake. At number 10, Luann and Tom D'Agostino. Real Housewives of New York cast members Luann and Tom D'Agostino weren't the greatest pair, and everyone on set could have told you that. The toxicity ran deep with these two, but most of it stemmed from Tom. The other cast members actually warned Luann about Tom, saying that he was untrustworthy and that he was still in love with his ex, but even with that warning, Luann continued her romance, and the two got married on New Year's Eve in 2016. At the end of the show's 8th season, it was revealed that one of the cast members had compromising photos of Tom kissing another woman just days after his and Luann's engagement party. This was a big red flag, as you could imagine. Soon it became apparent to the public that there were some serious problems in their relationship, as Luann and Tom got into a heated argument in public at a restaurant, which ended with Luann slapping Tom across the face. This heated relationship and Tom's constant cheating never subsided, as days before their divorce announcement, Tom was caught with yet another woman, but at that point, no one was really all that surprised. They were only married for 7 months, but those were the craziest 7 months of their lives. Luann regrets not listening to her castmates when they warned her about Tom, and she wishes she never married such an awful person. At number 9, Chad Johnson and Evelyn Lozada. Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, and ex-wife Evelyn Lozada were only married for 2 months, but so much happened in that short amount of time to permanently damage their relationship. Their relationship was intense and toxic, but it wasn't until after they got married that the world really learned just how awful it was. After dating for less than a year, the two were wed in a 4th of July ceremony in 2012, but just 2 months later there came an incident that broke them apart. Evelyn recalled finding a receipt in Chad's car for items that prompted the idea that Chad was cheating. The two fought, and it all ended with Chad seriously injuring his wife. Chad was arrested for battery and DV, and they divorced shortly after the incident. Evelyn did an interview after the ordeal where she opened up about her feelings on the situation and how her life had been affected by it. After that, the couple split up and moved on with their lives. At number 8, Elizabeth Taylor and Conrad Hilton. Elizabeth Taylor was one of Hollywood's most memorable icons, and surprisingly, she was married 8 times. She had many stories and encounters to recall throughout her life, but one of her shortest and most regrettable marriages she had was to hotel heir Conrad Hilton. The two were only married for 205 days before undoing their marriage after feeling neglected and hurt by her new husband. She was only 18 at the time of her marriage, but shortly after their wedding, Liz recalled how indifferent Conrad was towards her and how hurt she felt when he spoke to her using abusive language. Liz won her divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. She refused alimony and took back her maiden name. It was almost like it never happened, and Liz wanted it that way. She knew that she deserved better in life and refused to put up with Conrad's horrible treatment of her. During their honeymoon, the two reportedly fought a lot and spent more time apart than they did together, so this was one of the first red flags that things just weren't right between them. She later told news sources that her idea of marriage was very naive, and so she regretted her decision. She lived a better life without him anyway. At number 7, Ike and Tina Turner. Tina Turner is an absolute legend, and to think that someone would ever want to hurt this talented woman is honestly so sad. Ike and Tina were a musical powerhouse, but they had a tumultuous and toxic relationship, leaving Tina regretting having ever known him. The two met while Tina was still a teenager, and they began performing together, starting their musical act. In 1962, the two got married and continued to perform together for the following decade. Though they were a successful duo, Ike had been severely hurting Tina behind the scenes, causing her so much pain that she didn't deserve and even prompting her to try to take her own life. After surviving her attempt, she made it her mission to leave Ike and begin a fresh start on her own. That's exactly what she did, and she became an even bigger star because of it. At number 6, Jennifer Lopez and Ojani Noah. Jennifer Lopez is no stranger to walking down the aisle. She's been married 3 times already, but the one relationship that was her worst was her first marriage to Ojani Noah. Their marriage lasted less than a year, but their tumultuous drama that came after their divorce has lasted much longer. It seems as though their relationship was destined to fail, as Ojani documented a lot of JLo's life behind the scenes, saving it for later for his own tea spill. Noah tried leaking videos from the couple's honeymoon after their divorce, showing the singer in an intimate setting, and in years since has been very outspoken about the singer, her career, and even had plans to release a tell-all book about his ex, followed by a movie deal. He really came into the relationship for his own personal gain, not for love, it seems. JLo actually ended up suing Ojani in 2009 for $10 million, citing that the videos he released as well as the book and movie deals violated an agreement that they had, which prohibited him from exposing the singer's life. Jennifer now looks back on this relationship with regret and doesn't even count her marriage to Ojani as valid because of how short it was. At number 5, John Finlay and Joe Exotic. We all know about Joe Exotic and his crazy relationships. After he gained a little fame with the success of the Tiger King documentary on Netflix last year, he and the others involved in his life became sort of public figures. To give us more insight on Joe, his ex-husband John Finlay recently came forward to talk about his life after the documentary brought him some minor popularity, and he exposed his former relationship with the now imprisoned Big Cat owner and exposed their marriage. John cannot express enough how regretful his marriage to Joe Exotic was. John said that this whole marriage was fake and toxic, and that it was just for Joe's popularity, remarking that the wedding that was shown in the documentary, which showed him, Joe, and Travis Maldonado, was all, quote, basically a publicity stunt so Joe could get his own reality TV series, end quote. John spoke out saying that he still carries the pain from his time with Joe and is trying to forget his past by moving on with his new wife and making steps towards having the tattoos of Joe removed from his body. Joe went through a lot of trauma when he was with Joe, but luckily he's moving on from this dark time in his life. At number 4, Madonna and Guy Ritchie. Here's a marriage that was messy and toxic in every way possible. Madonna and Guy Ritchie divorced over 10 years ago, but their hatred towards one another still lives on, even if it's not as much as it used to be. The two were married for almost a decade, but their distaste for one another has lasted much longer, and because of this negativity, they no doubt regret ever being married in the first place. They both brought their own toxicity into the relationship, so I guess it could be said that they both married awful people because they were just as bad as each other. It seems like their marriage turned sour because Madonna was working so hard on her career, and so things became strained between them and the hostility began to grow. Coming out of the divorce, the worst of it started to come out. Guy made a lot of harsh comments about his marriage to Madonna, comparing his relationship with the singer to a soap opera, and also said that she was more concerned with her public image than she was with their marriage. Madonna fired back at her ex in the past, saying that she felt like she was incarcerated during their marriage and that Guy was nothing but a gold digger. There is just a lot of drama there, which really shows that they weren't a good match at all. At number 3, Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter Sr. In 2019, talk show host Wendy Williams exposed her husband's serious affair with his massage therapist. Wendy's 20-year marriage to husband Kevin Hunter Sr. was dissolved after he was accused of not only cheating on Wendy, but also fathering another woman's child. When news broke of Kevin's affair, it was also revealed that the mistress had given birth to their child, and upon discovering this information, Wendy called it quits right then and there. When speaking out about the whole dramatic affair, Wendy said, quote, "Look, my husband had a full baby with a woman he was involved with for 15 years. Infidelity is one thing, a full baby is a whole nother topic. A baby. I'm not changing Pampers. I want to be pampered. I learned from my mother how to make lemons into lemonade. What am I supposed to do? Stay in the house and cry all day?" End quote. She definitely regrets her marriage to Kevin just because of how serious his affair was. She married an awful person because not only did he end up cheating on Wendy, but he had a whole child with another woman. At that point, I'm sure you would wish that you had never met that person in the first place. At number 2, Alexis DeJoria, Sandra Bullock, and Jesse James. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? That's normally how things go. Well, that's how drag racer Alexis DeJoria and Sandra Bullock feel about their ex-husband Jesse James. Jesse has earned the label of serial cheater after it was discovered that there was some serious infidelity plaguing not only his past relationship with Sandra Bullock, but also his most recent marriage to Alexis. Both Sandra and Alexis have been caught in a cheating scandal with Jesse, and his most recent scandal revealed that Jesse cheated on Alexis with at least 20 different women. According to some sources, it was revealed that Jesse snuck women into his family home with Alexis, as well as fly women out to Austin just to hook up with them in hotel rooms. It was also reported that Alexis tried her best to work things out with Jesse, but he just wasn't interested in making things work and healing their marriage. After all of this drama and broken trust, both Alexis and Sandra regret ever being married to Jesse because of how much disregard he seemed to have for both of their respective relationships. They both married an awful man, and they certainly deserved a better partner. And finally, at number 1, Mary-Kate Olsen and Olivier Sarkozy. After multiple attempts and a lot of drama, Mary-Kate Olsen filed for divorce from her husband Olivier Sarkozy in 2020. Mary-Kate had tried multiple times to file for divorce from her husband through the New York City courts last year, but because of the pandemic and stay-at-home orders in New York, she was denied twice before finally having her paperwork accepted in late May. She wanted to get out of that marriage as soon as possible because drama and toxicity made it unbearable for her to go on any longer. The two had been married since 2015 and apparently had a number of rough patches, most notably their stance on starting a family. Olivier, who already had children with his ex-wife, didn't want any more, though Mary-Kate did. And on top of that, apparently the tipping point in their relationship was when Olivier's ex-wife moved into the couple's home. Mary-Kate seemed to have had enough with their disagreements, and especially those which involved the ex-wife, so she decided to leave her husband. Following her desire to leave, her husband apparently kicked Mary-Kate out of their home, and she was close to losing all of her personal belongings. She later realized what an awful person she married, but I'm sure she's glad to be out of that relationship now. At number 10, Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Mike Tyson's first marriage to wife Robin Givens was a rocky one. After 11 months of dating, the couple got married in 1988 in the wake of Robin's pregnancy, and afterwards Mike gave Robin and her mother around $10 million to get them settled. In Mike's memoir, he accused Robin of marrying him and locking him into a relationship for her own gain, as he alleged that her pregnancy and subsequent miscarriage were faked in order to get him to marry her. In the media, Mike was dragged through the mud. There were allegations of mistreatment on Mike's part, and the infamous Barbara Walters interview did not help his image. The interview was originally supposed to be a one-on-one profile of Mike, but before the interview, Robin allegedly pulled Barbara aside and told her that she didn't have the whole truth about them. Robin was then invited to join the interview, where she opened up about the things that she sustained while married to Mike and commenting on how she's been treated.
And I woke up and I said, I don't deserve this. I never had this in my life before, and I'm not going to tolerate this.
Soon after After the interview, Robin filed for divorce from Mike and was later caught cheating on him with Brad Pitt. Mike most definitely regrets marrying Robin, as he said so in his book, and others refer to his marriage to Robin as, quote, the one that ruined him. People online still debate who is in the wrong in this relationship and who was worse, but do you have any thoughts on this? Let me know down in the comments. At number 9, Axl Rose and Erin Everly. The tumultuous relationship of Axl Rose and Erin Everly is one that is certainly unforgettable, but not necessarily in the best way. The two met while Axl, the frontman for Guns N' Roses, was still a struggling musician in the early days of his music career. Erin became one of the most important people in Axl's life, being the inspiration for the song Sweet Child of Mine. Despite being a good-looking match on the outside, they had a tumultuous relationship, but that didn't stop them from getting married at a Las Vegas ceremony in 1990. Axl allegedly forced Erin into the marriage after he threatened to harm himself if she didn't marry him, so things were already off to a pretty toxic start. The marriage was later annulled in 1991, just 9 months after getting married, and in 94, Erin filed a civil lawsuit against Axl, where she alleged that she was mistreated by her then husband. Since the split, Erin has auctioned off memorabilia that she had kept from her days with Axl in the band, looking to rid herself of any trace of her old ties with them, as she's carried a lot of that pain with her for so long. From what she said about her marriage to Axl, things were certainly bad, and he wasn't the best person to be married to by a long shot. At number 8, Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Prince Charles and Princess Diana were one of the most beloved celebrity couples. The whole world loved them. Well, they loved Diana more than anything. She was considered to be the people's princess, but behind closed doors she was living a hard life, neglected by her husband. She was always second best in Charles's eyes, having never gotten over his infatuation for Camilla Parker Bowles. Charles and Diana got married in 1981 and had 2 kids together, but because of Charles' extramarital affairs and Diana's unhappiness in the relationship, they got divorced in 1996. Diana regretted marrying Charles because she always knew that there would always be 3 people in the marriage: her, Charles, and Camilla. She deserved so much better, but she got Charles' cold shoulder instead. She was loved by the world, and eventually, after she was freed from the royal family, that became enough. Now, I'm not saying that Charles is an awful person himself, but their whole marriage just wasn't very positive, and Diana got into a pretty unfortunate situation when she married the prince. At number 7, Audrina Patridge and Corey Bowen. The Hill star Audrina Patridge and BMX athlete Corey Bowen had a toxic and tumultuous relationship that was really just negative in every sense of the word. After about 7 years of dating, the couple got engaged in November of 2015 and were soon married by the following year after welcoming their daughter Kira into the world. By 2018, they were done and the legal battle began. Audrina alleged that Corey was violent towards her. Leading up to their official divorce, Audrina had been granted a restraining order preventing Corey from being within 100 feet of his wife and daughter. Audrina claimed that Corey had been very aggressive towards her on multiple occasions and that she just couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, she was able to get out of that horrible relationship and probably regrets getting into it in the first place. Needless to say, this was an awful marriage through and through. At number 6, Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. When Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio got married, it was a pretty big deal. The actress and the athlete looked like a beautiful match who were deeply in love, having met and married within a relatively short amount of time. They looked to be head over heels for each other, but some believe that their marriage was rushed because it all took place within the time that they had between work engagements. They got married in a quiet city hall ceremony in January 1954 and turned a work trip to Japan into their honeymoon, but just 9 months later, that spark had faded and their relationship crumbled apart. Joe allegedly wanted a stay-at-home wife, but because Marilyn was at the height of her career, she wouldn't agree to that and wanted to keep working. Joe also apparently had a hard time coming to terms with his wife's image, and apparently her famous subway grate scene was the last straw. Their marriage ended with Marilyn citing mental cruelty as one of the reasons behind their divorce. She didn't like how her husband didn't want to support her, and that's just not what she needed in her life then. In a relationship, you need to be able to support your partner no matter what, so clearly this wasn't a very good match. At number 5, Eddie Murphy and Tracy Edmonds. Comedian Eddie Murphy has had his quarrels with love. After a number of failed relationships, he thought he found the one when he met producer Tracy Edmonds. They dated for a few months before getting engaged, eventually leading to a lavish $500,000 wedding in Bora Bora. You know, things are getting serious when you take it all the way to a tiny island in the middle of the ocean. Their wedding, which was attended by 25 people, wasn't technically legally binding, but they had planned to go through with the whole process upon getting back to the United States after their ceremony, but unfortunately that never ended up happening. It's said that things started to go downhill quite quickly after the ceremony, as people reported Eddie being standoffish and not wanting to spend time with his new bride. Other guests who stayed on the island after the ceremony reported that they could hear Eddie and Tracy yelling at each other, fighting, which ended with Tracy in tears. Just 2 weeks after the wedding, they decided that marriage just wasn't for them and they called it quits. Even though they weren't technically legally married, their marriage was still awful, and they were equally as bad for each other. Maybe it's for the best that things didn't work out. At number 4, Lena Waithe and Alana Mayo. Screenwriter Lena Waithe and her ex-wife Alana Mayo surprised fans when they announced that they had gotten married in a private and secret ceremony that was a spur-of-the-moment decision, but just 2 months later they announced their separation. In a joint statement to their supporters, the couple announced that they were splitting up, and so as fans do, they speculated as to why they ended their relationship so quickly. Rumors that Lena had been unfaithful started swirling, and some sources even said that their relationship had been rocky even before the couple got married. According to some, Lena and Alana's wedding came after multiple cases of cheating, and that even after their wedding, Lena was still buying expensive gifts for other women. Allegedly, this was all too much for Alana to handle, and so they called it quits. Cheating in a relationship is always a recipe for disaster, and marrying a cheater is just so unfortunate, but at least you get to move on to bigger and better things. At number 3, Cardi B and Offset. Cardi and Offset have had a rocky relationship, and many people say that they are both just awful for each other. Because of all the drama that these two have had in the past during their marriage, and the fact that they almost got divorced, I think it's safe to say that things have been bad before, and it's honestly kind of debatable whether things are actually okay now or not. Though they have been married for over 3 years and have kids together, apparently that hasn't stopped Offset from seeking comfort elsewhere. As I mentioned, Cardi even filed for divorce from Offset in 2020 because of his infidelity, though they later got back together after he spoiled her for her birthday, buying her a $300,000 car and dedicating a billboard to her. Offset has had a number of cheating scandals over the course of his relationship with Cardi. In 2018, about a year after the couple got married in secret, Offset faced rumors that he had cheated on Cardi and even made an adult film with another woman. Back in 2020, he faced more cheating allegations when it was rumored that he even fathered a child during this affair. A lot of people say that this is a toxic relationship, but they just keep coming back to each other, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see how things play out, I guess. At number 2, J-Lo and Alex Rodriguez. Now, even though they weren't technically married, Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez still had the intention of doing so. That is, until things got messy and Alex was caught in a cheating scandal. Cheating scandals aren't anything new for the baseball player, having been accused of infidelity in the past, but this new scandal might have been the one where J-Lo said enough is enough and called off the wedding. In January of this year, Alex was accused of cheating on J-Lo with reality TV star Madison LaCroix. This rumor started circulating after LaCroix was accused of having an alleged affair with a former MLB player. And this was brought up during a taping of a reality reunion show. Shortly after the taping aired, these allegations escalated, with Madison admitting to having been in contact with A-Rod. She insisted that their communications were innocent, saying that they never met up and never had any physical contact, saying, quote, "He's never physically cheated with his fiancée with me." The only solid proof that we have of A-Rod being in contact with Madison comes from a source close to Alex, who told sources that Alex had slid into Madison's DMs and that they had exchanged some, quote, thirsty photos. Not too long after this all went down, A-Rod and J-Lo announced that they were breaking up and called off their engagement. Cheaters are awful. Period. And finally, at number 1, Jana Kramer and Mike Cosson. I stand by the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater, and so do a lot of people who've been in failed relationships. Once your partner does you wrong once, it takes a lot to regain that trust, and sometimes after a bond is broken. This seems to have been the case with football player Mike Cosson and his wife, singer and actress Jana Kramer. The couple faced a cheating scandal in 2016, and after that they spent the next few years trying to work on their marriage, trying to reconcile after this drama affected them so greatly, but the couple recently called it quits on their marriage when Jana took to social media in late April to announce their divorce. Her message to the public read, quote, "It's time. I try and make sense of a reality I never wanted to believe could be possible again. Those words have now become reality. I've fought, y'all. I've loved hard. I've forgiven. I put the work in. I've given everything I have, and now I have nothing else to give." The couple briefly split following the cheating scandal I mentioned before, where Mike's secrets were exposed, and though they were able to make amends and try to work on regaining their bond, things just weren't meant to work out in the long term, it seems. In her filings, Jana also cited causes and reasons for the divorce divorce, saying that, quote, inappropriate marital conduct, irreconcilable differences, and adultery were the reasons behind their failed marriage. In the end, people came to see that Jana married a pretty awful person, but the fact that they're free from each other is for the best, so now they can move on and grow from this. At number 10, Kenya Duke and Gary Owen. Imagine being betrayed by your partner after 20 years of marriage. Well, that's essentially what Kenya Duke went through after she found out that her husband Gary Owen had been cheating. Kenya Duke filed for divorce in March of this year, making allegations that her husband had been unfaithful in their marriage. After news broke of their divorce filing, Kenya took to her Instagram to imply that her husband had an affair with a woman from Dallas, someone who was mutual friends with Gary and reality TV star Claudia Jordan. In a now deleted Instagram post, Kenya sent a message to the other woman, whom she calls Dallas, Texas, saying, quote, Dallas, Texas, I have your info. I'm going to deal with you in a minute. I'm a little busy now. You can have him, but you can't disrespect me and my kids in the process. At Gary Owen Comedy, let her know a storm is coming. You should know better. Married, not separated. Married. End quote. But Kenya wasn't done clapping back though, because she also followed this message up with one that was meant for her husband, where she said, quote, all the energy you spent lying, acting, and creating a fake narrative for these women that you want to be me, you could have done it with a veggie burger and a glass of fake filtered water. End quote. I've said it in every single one of these videos, but being with a cheater just means you married an awful person. At number 9, Tiger Woods and Ellen Norgren. One of the most famous cheating scandals from pro golfer Tiger Woods in 2009 shattered his golden boy image and made him look like an awful person. It all started with a car crash. Tiger had crashed his Cadillac into a fire hydrant, and this incident made headlines, but it also drew attention to another headline that he had made days earlier after tabloids published a story alleging that Tiger was having an affair with a nightclub manager. Soon, one alleged affair turned into many more, as 6 women ended up coming forward, saying that they had also had intimate relationships with the golfer. His wife was understandably furious to find out about all of her husband's affairs, and their marriage was ruined after that. I'm sure she no doubt regretted ever marrying such an awful person in the first place. Number 8, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver. Actor and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was caught in a very messy and high-profile cheating scandal that not only brought life into the world but ruined relationships and turned him into an awful person. In 1997, Arnold had an affair with the family's former housekeeper Patty, and she soon became pregnant with his son. At the very same time, Arnold's wife was also expecting their 4th kid. As if the universe wanted to make things extra chaotic for Arnold, both his wife and mistress ended up giving birth within 5 days of each other, though they wouldn't know about one another until about a decade later. But much like all secrets, they come out eventually, and Arnold ended up coming clean to his wife about his affair in 2007. This information wasn't immediately shared with the public until 2011, where things blew up. Arnold revealed his infidelity to the public after announcing that he and his wife Maria were separating, while also revealing the truth about his kid with his mistress. This wasn't fair to Arnold's wife nor his mistress, because this secret really blew up their lives and it affected their kids too, so Maria certainly married someone awful. At number 7, Woody Allen and Mia Farrow. Now, even though they weren't actually married, I felt like I had to include Woody Allen and Mia Farrow's relationship on here because of just how messed up it was, because Woody had an affair with Mia's adopted daughter, and that is seriously messed up. Mia's daughter Soon Yi was adopted when she was about 7 years old, and because Mia and Woody were together, Woody became a father figure to her. In 1992, when Soon Yi was 21, Mia discovered that her daughter and her partner Woody were in a secret relationship when she found intimate photos of Soon Yi. When Mia confronted Woody, he revealed that he and Soon Yi had been together for a short time and that he was in love with her. This subsequently ended their relationship, and Allen moved on with Soon Yi, later getting married in 1997. When reports came out about their marriage, this took a lot of people by surprise and made a lot of people angry. Woody was deemed a pretty horrible person for getting with Mia's daughter, and people haven't been able to stop thinking about how creepy and wrong that is. Woody and Soon Yi seem fine with it all, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Woody is an awful person for that. At number 6, David Letterman and Regina Lasko. When people are having an affair, they become very secretive as to not get caught, but in most cases, cheaters are almost always exposed, so people can see what a horrible person this cheater is. This is what happened with David Letterman, as someone caught wind of his scandalous extramarital entanglements. In October 2009, on his late night talk show, David Letterman got serious with his audience, and he exposed his affair and revealed to the public that he had been intimately involved with someone from the studio. He also revealed that this revelation he is sharing was because someone was threatening to blackmail blackmail him for $2 million. He said that one day he found a mysterious package sitting in his car and it included proof of his affair and a demand to be paid in order to keep things quiet. He said that if he didn't pay up, his blackmailer would reveal his secrets to the public, but rather than get swallowed up in the scandal, he faced it head on. Soon details of his affairs started to come to light, detailing how he had slept with women who worked for him at the studio. He was married at the time of this scandal and remains so to this day. The couple were able to work through things, but David is still an awful person for cheating on his spouse. At number 5, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Brangelina used to be one of the hottest celebrity matches in Hollywood, but ever since their split, it's been dark times for them, especially Brad. Once upon a time, they were seen as the industry's it couple, having spanned over 10 years and raising many kids together, but their divorce is where things get toxic and messy. When the couple announced that they were calling it quits in 2016, a lot of people wondered why, and one of the answers given was because of a dispute that Brad had allegedly had with Angelina about his substance abuse that resulted in Brad getting into an altercation with their oldest son, Maddox. It was alleged that Brad was hurting others, and though an investigation cleared him of said allegations, Angie is now saying that she's prepared to share proof that Brad was in fact hurting his family. Recently, Angelina came forward saying that she's willing to offer her children's testimony against Brad as proof, and this could blow the doors off their relationship, giving us more information as to how toxic things really were. The fact that Angie claims to have proof of how bad things were shows how serious the situation was, and the fact that there's been so much drama and allegations against Brad, he might be considered to be an awful person. At number 4, Eminem and Kim Mathers. When asked about some toxic relationships they know of, a surprising amount of people reference Eminem and his ex-wife Kim Mathers because of their rocky past and marriage. Eminem met Kim in a youth home in 1988 when they were teenagers. From that point on, they stayed by each other's side even when living together at Eminem's mother's house. From that point until 1999, the two had a rocky and sort of toxic relationship, being an on and off again couple. In 1995, they had a daughter, and in 1999, the two ended up getting married. Their wedding took place on June 14th, 1999, just before Marshall's first major tour as his career was taking off. Kim said later on that this tour took the greatest toll on their marriage, saying, quote, "When Marshall's first tour started is when his ego just went poof, like he was God, that's what he thought. I was told that I should be grateful that he still talks to me. You know how many women throw themselves at him? And I just pretty much felt like a piece of crap." End quote. From then, their marriage went downhill as they were met with cheating scandals and mental health struggles. Eventually, they got a divorce in 2000, remarried in 2006, then divorced again, this time ending things for good. Because of how toxic things were between them, I guess it could be argued that Eminem was an awful partner. At number 3, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Now, having a list of celebrities who married awful people, you already know we're going to include Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's tumultuous relationship. A lot was uncovered during their massive court case last year that basically exposed Amber for having hurt Johnny while they were together and having been a horrible partner. We heard stories about Amber severing Johnny's finger with a glass bottle, many of the fights that they had, and even recordings of Amber antagonizing and hurting Johnny. There were instances of physical mistreatment as well as verbal and emotional as well, showing the world how toxic things really were behind closed doors. We found out about how Amber had been cheating on Johnny and how she allegedly went out of her way to outshine him in their industry, always being ready to make big headlines to overshadow him. Amber was no doubt one of the most awful people a celebrity could have married. At number 2, Kim Kardashian and Damon Thomas. Before Kim Kardashian was ever with Kanye West or Chris Humphries, she was married to a man named Damon Thomas. Kim and Damon eloped in 2000 when Kim was 19, but their marriage only lasted until 2004. Damon was 10 years older than her, and Kim accused him of, quote, poisoning her against her friends and family, and that he urged her to drop out of college. Kim also said that he would be violent towards her. On top of that, she's also said that Damon encouraged her to get plastic surgery so that she would look perfect. On the flip side of this, Damon alleged that Kim was only accusing him of all that in an attempt to get more money out of him in the divorce settlement. Either way, it sounds like Kim went through a lot of negativity with him, and she certainly married an awful person. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin and Matthew Modine. In a relationship, when trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild it. That's why a lot of relationships and marriages crumble, and this is part of the reason why Kathy Griffin divorced her husband Matthew Modine in 2005. Kathy opened up about what broke their marriage when talking to Larry King when she said, quote, "My ex-husband, without my knowledge, was sneaking into my wallet when I was asleep in the mornings and taking my ATM cards of my own private accounts and withdrawing money. He admitted it and apologized, and we went to couples therapy. I really wanted to make it work. Unfortunately, we were not able to get beyond the trust issue. To steal from your partner is super sketchy and makes you a pretty awful person, because not only are you breaking trust and being dishonest, but you're taking something away from this person who worked really hard to acquire it."